The Hatchcast is brought to you by the Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. The Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation empowers students to learn through action by providing campus-wide programs, courses, and resources to test ideas, foster an entrepreneurial mindset, develop empathy, and create new ventures. Learn more at eship.msu.edu.
This episode of the Hatchcast is brought to you by the MSU Entrepreneurship Association. The MSUEA is a registered student organization open to all majors who are passionate about entrepreneurship. Find out more at msuea.org.
Welcome back to this week's event segment. I'm Tiana West, here to bring you the updates on Burgess and Entrepreneur events. If you missed out on our Innovate State conversation with Colby Cartledge, no worries, enjoy this exclusive content from our fireside chat. The next Innovate State conversation is happening on March 31st with Bob Fish, CEO and founder of Big B Coffee. For more information, visit eship.msu.edu/innovate-state. This past Tuesday, we released our student semifinalists for our premier pitch competition, Burgess New Venture Challenge. Semifinalists are competing for a share of $40,000. Startups receive mentorship and team development workshops in preparation for a showcase event. Burgess New Venture Challenge will be happening virtually on April 1st, 2021. To learn more and register, visit eship.msu.edu/BurgessNVC. If you've been with us for a while, you may be familiar with Startup Weekend. We've hosted 3 sessions this year, 2 in the fall, 1 in the spring. We've recently changed the event to 2-day venture. Same event, different name. Students receive direct mentorship, coaching, resources, and workshops, and are equipped to build a scalable venture that solves real-world problems. 2-day venture is happening on April 9th and 10th. Registration closes on April 2nd at noon, so don't forget to register and submit your idea. Learn more at eship.msu.edu/2dayventure. That's all we have for you for this week. For even more information about upcoming events and programs, visit eship.msu.edu. We hope that you are staying safe and healthy. See you next week. Go Green.
All right. Excellent. It is just after 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Chris Sell. Welcome everyone to tonight's edition of Innovate State. I know that we've got folks kind of trickling in here, but we had a wonderful roster of registrations for tonight's event. So we are so excited to welcome you. If you're a student from Michigan State, welcome. If you're staff or faculty, community members, or of course, Spartans and friends all across the country or the globe for that matter, we welcome you to tonight's conversation. And we're so thrilled to have you join us for what promises to be a great event and wonderful conversation with one of our esteemed alumni. Before we get started to that wonderful conversation, I have a few short announcements or updates about upcoming opportunities with respect to the Burgess Institute and our ecosystem here at MSU. Again, my name is Chris Sell. I'm the Director of Alumni and Entrepreneur Engagement for the Burgess Institute, which runs and supports the university-wide entrepreneurship education program at Michigan State. I just want to acknowledge a few upcoming events or updates about our program that I think are very valuable to the folks that are watching tonight. First and foremost, you should know that we have another Innovate State scheduled for a few weeks from now. It will be March 30th, featuring Bob Fish. Yes, Big B Bob Fish, founder of Big B Coffee, co-founder that is, and an alumnus of Michigan State University, in fact, will be joining us for that event. And we are super excited for that. It's going to be a great conversation. Bob is delightful and just a tremendous entrepreneur. So we're looking forward to that conversation. If you haven't already, registration is live for that event. So you can go ahead and register for that free event. And we'll make sure to give you all the Zoom details in advance so that you can join us for that conversation. In addition to that, you may recall that over the last several months, we've hosted 3 startup weekends to date, which are an opportunity for the MSU community to come together, particularly students who wish to team up with other students in over 36 hours, pitch a really cool business idea or concept. We are excited to host what is now being known as 2-Day Venture, happening April 9th and 10th. It is the same program, different name or feel, and it will be a dynamic opportunity for those of you who are wishing to come together with other students or community members and coalesce around a business concept or a venture idea. So again, that's April 9th and 10th. We're still actively accepting registrations for that. And it is indeed always one of the best and most fun programs we offer here for the MSU community. You should also save the date for April 1st, which will be the night of the Burgess New Venture Challenge for 2021. The finals night and showcase is taking place that evening. We are so excited to be welcoming 15 student semifinalists who were just recently announced yesterday to continue to work towards pitching for that event. And again, that night, April 1st, it is a public event, and you are welcome and invited to join us and watch that program. Registration is live for that event as well. And I imagine my colleague Aubrey will be posting registration information for that event right in the chat function of tonight's Innovate State as well. Lastly, I just want to mention this week has been an extraordinarily busy week for the Burgess Institute. You probably saw the announcement yesterday about our 15 student semifinalists for this year's Burgess New Venture Challenge. You also probably saw news today about another exciting announcement regarding a brand new partnership with the Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation and MSU Athletics that actually comes to fruition starting tonight with a brand new 6-week training course with the MSU football program here at Michigan State. We are super excited about this new partnership with MSU Athletics and looking forward to a multitude of ways in which we can provide formalized entrepreneurship education to our student athletes across the institution. And obviously very excited about Coach Mel Tucker's announcements today and getting the football program involved with our course. So very excited about that and looking forward to continue partnerships with them and providing entrepreneurship education to student athletes and of course, all of our students across Michigan State University. I think that's about it for announcements. Again, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I know that in a second, when I turn it over to my colleague and moderator for tonight's program, he'll also acknowledge our sponsors and partners that make Innovate State happen. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Aaron Richard, Communications Manager and Storyteller for the Burgess Institute. Take it away, Aaron.
Thank you so much, Chris, and welcome everybody to Innovate State tonight. During an earlier conversation, it was pointed out that I have the hatch showing up behind me. So that is correct. This is the co-working space that we have available for students. And we are taking appointments for socially distanced, limited occupancy co-working. If you're interested, you can always sign up for time at the hatch by finding us at eship.msu.edu and just venture with us. I just wanted to say a huge thanks and a huge shout out to our sponsors, including the MSU Alumni Office, MSU Foundation, MSU Innovation Center. We could not do this work without you, and we are grateful for your support. Just FYI, on Friday, this very conversation will be appearing on our Vimeo channel. And it will also be released as an audio-only podcast. And you can check us out on all your favorite podcasting stream platforms. Just go search for us, Hatchcast. This is your venture. It is my pleasure and it's my honor tonight to have a conversation with an amazing, amazing human being. Colby Cartledge is an impassioned intrapreneur. A lot of times we talk about entrepreneurs on this during these talks. We bring in people who have built startups, and tonight we are talking to an intrapreneur. She is currently Target's lead business designer on the New Ventures and Accelerators team, where she helps de-risk speculative opportunities for Target. Colby received her Bachelor's of Arts in Supply Chain Management and Management of Information Systems at the University of Texas at Austin. She went on to receive her master's degree in management strategy and leadership from Michigan State University. Fun fact, and you should all note this, she has never been to Michigan. That's right. You've heard it here. So tonight, let's give her a warm welcome all the way from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Colby Cartledge. Welcome to Innovate State.
Thank you. Thank you. And my cat Chad has decided to also join us. So
well, it's wonderful to meet you. That's perfect. So Colby, I've been thinking about so before we do these interviews, we usually do reach out calls just to have a conversation. And I think yours was the longest conversation. It is now 1 hour and 27 minutes as a prep call, which is my favorite part of all of this.
Did that count the dropped part, like the pre-dropped part?
No, I did. Yes. Okay. So the pre-drop, yes. So maybe, yeah. No, so I've been thinking about our conversation a lot since we last spoke. And what I think would be really helpful is maybe right at this moment, if you define for us what perhaps corporate innovation is.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Corporate innovation is a lot different than entrepreneurship, I would say. I think entrepreneurship, you are starting from the ground up, and you really have a blank canvas, and you can do whatever you want and follow whatever your passion and your need is. I think within corporate entrepreneurship, and innovation, you have to ladder up to whatever the corporation has decided is its priorities for that time being. Being a part of a public company, you also have to worry about the stakeholders and making sure that whatever you do makes money and is able to be successful so that you have a job in 6 months, right? And so I think it's very different because you have a lot more limitations and guidelines and constrictions. But as you hear many times, when you have those limitations, you actually breed even more creative ideas. So.
I was actually thinking about that. So now that we have the ground floor set, we have a definition. I'm going to just roll it back just a little bit. So in the news this week, there was history made, and I know that you are a rower, that you love rowing. It looks like Jasmine Harrison made a historic row across the Atlantic Ocean. Do you have a hot take?
21 years old, rowed by herself across the ocean. One of my good friends from undergrad actually did the Talisker Challenge. If you have not followed it, it is rowing across the Atlantic Ocean, which is crazy.
Yes.
And very intense. There's a really good book for moms in a boat that you should all read that talks about the training and the actual journey and everything about it. But 21 years old, I'm so glad that she did it when she was young and had the energy and the passion, because things start breaking down even as you get into your 30s. So really, really awesome. And I think that'll be a hard record to break, because most rowers of that caliber at that age are in university or in undergrad at that point. So I hope she holds that record for a while. It blew me away when I saw that headline. And what blew me away even more is that she said that she ate 90 pounds or 40 kilograms of chocolate. That seems about right. Well, I mean, I feel like I eat that, and I'm not really across the Atlantic Ocean. My wife, seriously, she works right by a Trader Joe's, and I'm like, can you get me the pound plus milk chocolate? Which, if you don't know, that's like a chocolate bar like this. I get at least one a month, and it's gone, and she has to beg me to save her a little bit. So.
Well, maybe.
Right.
My favorite there at the company that you just mentioned, that is not a sponsor for any of this. My favorite is the chocolate covered peanut butter pretzels, to be noted.
Yeah, that's a solid. Yeah,
it's a solid choice.
Milk chocolate, not dark though.
Absolutely, no. It has to be milk chocolate.
I'm a milk fan. Yeah.
So I thought maybe you could describe what you do at Target.
Yeah. So I actually get this question a lot, because people are like, business design, what does that mean? The way that I explain it is I am the rational mind in the room full of creatives. So all of my peers are people that come up with amazing, really crazy, awesome ideas. And I'm the person that gets to say, what value does this bring to the organization? Can we actually make money? And can we actually scale this thing? Because if we can't do any of the above, similar to the conversation just a second ago, we're probably not going to do it as target. So I am the one that's poking holes, asking questions, saying, okay, can we move it this way so that we can squeak out a little bit more margin? But the people I work with are amazing, and they deal with my antics.
That, I mean, they would have to, because you're fabulous. So I mean, can we talk about your path to target?
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
So I actually grew up outside of Waco, so a little bit south of Waco in Texas. And so grew up there, went to undergrad at the University of Texas. Like you said, studied supply chain and management of information systems, was on the rowing team there, had a really great time, and then signed with Target right out of school. Being the rational person that I am, I had several different internships, but Target really provided an opportunity to have a career, not just a job coming out of school. And I wanted that stability. And so I actually worked in a distribution center right out of school in the Dallas area, and led a team of warehouse workers. And as a 23-year-old woman that is managing a group of guys that could probably be my dad, that was very challenging.
It's tough work.
It's tough. It's really
tough work.
And you, I remember celebrating New Year's over the radio, like Happy New Year, get back to work type of thing. You work all hours of the day. And I really enjoyed it because it was very feasible work. You could see the progress that you were making every day. It's like the enjoyment of mowing the lawn.
Yes.
You know, you can see the progress. But what I realized pretty quickly was that, well, yes, I enjoyed the execution part. I wanted to be on the team that was thinking of the things that we were then executing within the building. And so I had the opportunity about 8 years ago to come up to headquarters onto the distribution process team and work on reverse supply chain work, which was really cool, dealing with how we dispose of product, and then move to assets protection, theft and fraud of where are we losing product within the supply chain and within stores. Got to work on really cool projects, stuff with the FBI. It was actually really, really cool.
Is the corporate term shrinkage?
Shortage. Well,
shortage.
Shrink, shortage,
and short. Yes.
Inventory inaccuracy, all of the above. And then came onto the New Ventures team. This summer will be 3 years ago, and really got to follow my passion into that ambiguous gray area. So feel very, very lucky. I've been able to follow my interest throughout my decade there.
So what I'm curious about is, you go to undergrad. What did you imagine life after undergrad looking like?
So like as a kid, I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer. I was obsessed with designing planes and spaceships, and that's all I did. And then I realized you need to know a lot of really advanced math. And while I was a very smart child, I didn't want to do the whole math side of it. So then I was like, I'm going to be an architect. I'm going to design these buildings. And I did these little internships and things, but I did not get into architecture school because that is a very hard thing to do. And so I settled on business school. Little did I know I was very lucky and got into the University of Texas Business School, which is a very strong school. And I just remember sitting there and being like, this was my third choice. Like, what am I going to do? I guess it's general. And so you take all your entry level classes of all the business, and I'm like, definitely don't want to do finance. I thought accounting was black and white, definitely a lot of gray there. And I don't want to go to jail for making a mistake, which is what they always tell you in those classes, right? And I remember supply chain, and at the time it was 2007, so it was like up and coming. Supply chain is like now a discipline, and I was the first class of the supply chain.
A trailblazer.
Yeah, oh, true trailblazer, right? It was because it was a process of elimination that I didn't want to do anything else. But I actually really liked supply chain. I liked process, and it made sense to me. And I've always been able to look at something and say, okay, this is how we currently do it. How can we make it better? And pick apart the little opportunities in there. So I thought that I was going to work in a distribution center and that I was going to help make processes more efficient. And that's what I did. But then I realized that there are actually a lot cooler processes outside of moving boxes that I could play with. And so that's sort of how I got here.
So tell me how long between completing undergrad and heading into your graduate degree, how long between those two things?
It was about 3 years, and it's funny. I'm glad I waited, because there's some really good advice that I got in undergrad, and our professors were saying, do not go to graduate school right out of school. And everyone's like, why? It makes so much sense. You know, recession, it's the thing. Why not do it? And they said, your graduate degree is really about learning from your life experience. And if you don't have any life experience to learn from, you're continuing to learn from a book and apply to a void of nothingness. I would say I'm very glad that I waited 3 years. I had life experience. It was not what I have today. If I were to do my master's today, I would have a totally different experience than I would have, back in 2016, right? And I really do think it allows you to be very introspective and apply what you're learning in the moment. Whereas if you just take it right out of school, it's like learning how to ride a bike through reading a book. If you're actively riding the bike and you're getting personal training on how to ride the bike, that's master's degree in my mind.
I think that's an apt, a pretty precise measurement of that. Honestly, I mean, when I think about it too, I also went directly into my master's degree, but I was going into my master's in the arts.
Yeah.
And it felt like, well, keep running at it. This is the only time in my life I'll have to just read.
Right. Yeah. It makes sense. Keep it going. You've been in school for how many years now?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, and I'm sure that there are many people in our audience right now who are thinking, hey, I'm graduating in the next, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the heck I'm going to do next. What graduate school sounds great.
Yeah.
Probably if that's the case, you've probably already applied to graduate school, to be
Yep.
fair. But what drew you to do graduate school here? Well, to get your degree here.
Yeah. So I was actually just talking to someone yesterday about this, because she's thinking about getting an MBA, right? Like that's what everyone does. You get an MBA. That's the like sexy, cool thing to do. And people think that's a ticket to your future, that if you get the MBA and you pay for that $100,000 piece of paper, that will unlock so many doors. And I sort of went against the rules, and I was like, I don't want to get an MBA. And again, going back to my undergrad professors, they said, don't get an MBA, because we are teaching you everything you will learn in an MBA school. Like our undergraduate curriculum was built on the MBA curriculum. And they said, if you get an MBA, it will be a repeat of your undergrad. So
right.
You can do that if you want, but we're just telling you, don't do it. So I just remembered that, and I was like, I don't want to get an MBA. I also knew that I didn't want to go into some of the traditional areas that require an MBA. So if you're going into consulting, like an MBA is a ticket to ride, basically, right? And there are also some other reasons to do that. If you want to go into entrepreneurship and do some startups, which I know a lot of the audience does, I think you work on some really good projects that are real projects that go into the wild and are live within an MBA program, that you're able to get coaching and feedback and really, really rich developmental conversations on that you wouldn't get if you were doing this by yourself. So I think that's another really good reason to do that. I think I didn't want either one of those things. I was really passionate in expanding my knowledge around strategy. That is something that I was always cluing into, trying to get into the room, listen behind the door type thing. Like, why are we doing this? Not just like, what are we doing and how do we make it better, but like, what is the why? And so I started researching different degrees that were more specialized, and there were supply chain specialized degrees, and there were data science degrees, and both of those I was interested in, but Michigan State offered the only strategy specific degree, and it happened to be online. And I was actually open to moving at that point, but it happened to be online. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is exactly what I want. The things that I'm passionate about, strategy, management, and leadership. Let's do it. And so I signed up, and I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I was also like the first class of that program as well, or that's what they kept telling us.
Well, I will make sure that our crack team of fact checkers.
Right. Yeah.
It may be bleeped out in the not live version.
Right.
So I think what's interesting though is that you were self-aware, like you made an intentional choice.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really brave thing, because there are pressures coming from all directions, right? But what I think is inspiring is that you made a choice that you went for something that played to your passions and curiosities. Yeah. So I mean, architecture, it tells me that you're critical thinking and a critical thinker, and you really relish art. Mm-hmm. And I think art is a liberating thing. And then you love strategy, and that feels like it's playing with both sides of the brain. So it makes total sense. So when you did getting the master's help you make a choice about your track at Target?
Yeah, I think I started that degree. It was a 2-year program. I started that degree at a point where I was starting to hit a lull in my job. I had, they say it takes a year or 6 months to know what you're doing. 6 months to get good at it, and then 6 months to become like you're the expert. That the first 18 months of a job, it's very, very similar. I was at that 2-year mark where I was doing stuff with my eyes closed, and it was becoming very easy. And I was trying to figure out, like, I know I want to be on the strategy team. Like, how do I get there? And so it was really cool because the program allowed me to almost get that personal training on the bike, right? Of how do I apply strategy and the lessons and the frameworks that they're teaching me to the world that I'm operating in today. And if I wouldn't have been in the area that I was in, feeling like I was stuck and being able to apply that thinking and see, wow, like you could actually apply this thinking no matter where you are, I wouldn't have been so passionate to say, you know what, like I got a taste of it. Now I want to put on my big girl pants, and I really want to go to this area. Like, what jobs in Target will allow me to make this my full-time job, not just my side project that I need my director to sign off on, that I presented this to him for my class.
So I think this sort of demonstrates that even established corporations can't stop, like they cannot rest on their laurels. Yeah, you can rest on the dragon hoard of gold that you've acquired, but over time that grows stale, and it doesn't serve your customer, it doesn't serve your employees, it just serves the bank.
Yeah.
When you think about like Target actually has been an innovative brand in the space. What do you love about the company?
I'll address the first part. So Target is an innovative brand in the space. We joke around being on the innovation team, or a innovation team, that we have all the awards for innovation. We're so innovative. Everyone thinks we're so innovative. But if you like sit inside of our 4 walls, it's like nothing is happening, right? Like, because you're stuck in the corporate red tape, which is so frustrating. And it's like, we could move so much faster if we didn't have to deal with legal, and if we didn't have to deal, with priorities and all of this stuff, right? So I think I'm honored that you think we are innovative.
I do. I really do.
Like I am. I just wish you could see the sausage making that happens behind the scenes. What I love about Target, I think, I have this conversation with my wife actually. She's like, why don't you work for a nonprofit? Like, why don't you work for, a B Corp, something like where you really feel like your heart is in it? And I was like, I do feel like my heart is in it, because what's so cool about Target, yes, we are a public company and we serve the shareholders, but I feel like we're one of the good guys. Like,
oh, that's important.
Like I really do. And I do feel that the leadership that we have in the company right now, and we are literally on a tipping point of being a company that makes really stylish goods to being a company that leaves a lasting impact on the world. And I get to be a part of that tipping point, to be a truly purpose-driven company. And I think corporate America is also on that tipping point of realizing, like, holy crap, we have a ton of resources. We have a ton of money. We have a ton of smart people. We have a ton of presence in front of the American people or the global audience. Like, this is a platform. And yes, we can, like you said, shovel gold into our coffers. But instead of just doing that, like, we can also do really good things. And it is our role with that seat at the table to push corporate America to do that. And I truly believe, and this is why I love what I do and I love the company, is that Target will be one of the organizations that sets the future of what a corporation in America should be, and the role that we should take in a myriad of different ways. And I think that it just energizes me to do that work. Because I think we're uniquely positioned to do that, whereas many other large organizations are not.
Or unwilling to be.
Oh, totally, right? And I can tell you the amount, I can't even count the amount of rooms where we're having conversations of, like, what can we do with our seat at the table, our power? Like, I know this person in pay and benefits. I know this person in D&I. I know this person. Like, we all are truly showing up and trying to do the best thing we possibly can. There's not an underlying agenda at the company to, make as much money as we possibly can. That is, yes, we are doing very well right now. But that is just an effect of the work that's being done within our walls.
So let me set this stage. So here at the Burgess Institute, our programming, including the minor in entrepreneurship and innovation, it aspires to provide experiential learning that builds an entrepreneurial mindset. So when our students come into our programming, when they come in, they encounter, whether they encounter the co-working space or they declare the minor, we want to ensure that our students learn critical thinking skills, emotional intelligence skills, and that they're on the lookout for, and they're actively about creating solutions. Mm-hmm. So that's what I have in my head. That's whether you're building your own venture or if you're working within an organization. Can you talk about how the entrepreneurial, because I feel like you absolutely demonstrate the entrepreneurial mindset within an established organization. Can you talk about maybe a project that you've worked on recently that you're able to talk about, and that how that plays out?
Yeah. It's really cool the way, and I think this has been an evolution of the way we look at innovation at Target. The way that my team is set up, we are actually a self-sustaining business that sits adjacent to Target almost. We have everything we need to build a business within our team. What we learned very early is that if you try to compete for resources on something that might be compared to something that is, you will never win, right? So like,
Yes.
if someone needs to keep the cash registers going and someone needs to figure out if digital e-commerce is a thing, like they're going to keep the cash registers going, right? And you'll always get kicked. So the way that our team is set up, we have everything we need, which is so awesome because we have the dedicated resources. I would say the way we work and the types of things that we do are things that don't neatly fit underneath the existing core business. And when I say core business, I think finance, merchandising, marketing, supply chain, like the big pyramids within our organization. If something cleanly fits within their organization, they should already be working on it. We call that Horizon 1, things that are one iteration away from their existing business, making their existing business better. If you're getting further than that, where it then is starting to compete with the core, it always gets deprioritized. That's where we come in, right? So we the analogy we use, Target is a huge, massive container ship. We're the little jet speedboats that are Lewis and Clarking it, trying to figure out where the massive cargo ship should go. And we go to Oklahoma and we say, Oklahoma's horrible, don't go there. Right. And then we come to Minnesota and we're like, oh my gosh, Minnesota and Michigan, the Midwest, it's great. We should hang out here. And then we slowly move the ship to go there. I would say, regarding projects that I work on, it's everything from almost being like an internal consultant of like, we have no idea what we should do in the voice space. Like, should Target have a, hey, Target, just like the Alexa, like, should we do that? I don't know. Like, then we get that project and we go figure it out and make a decision or a recommendation on that, all the way to what are brand new businesses outside of Target's four walls that we feel there's an opportunity to stand up, which is huge for a company that hasn't stood up a brand new company since Dayton's in the 50s, 60s, right? Like, so we get the freedom to explore everything that's very adjacent, all the way to things that are really crazy, and it's really cool. I think the biggest problem or obstacle that we face that you don't face in a this is my own company is, how do you go do all that learning, get it this recommendation, say this is a $200 million opportunity, and then feed it back into the core, especially when it doesn't sit pretty with anyone, right? Like, there's no one to really own this thing. We have this baby that's really cool and awesome, but if no one wants to own it, like, does it die?
Where does it go?
And that's a question we're trying to figure out.
That sounds like that actually sounds like a fantastic problem to have.
Oh, it is, but it is one of those things, like, even within an organization that makes billions and billions of dollars, there's limited resources, and we're always fighting for headcount, right? And even if we want to incubate something or get something to outside of a very small test, we need headcount. And so how do we fight through those issues, which is fighting the man, right, for those resources? But we're learning and we're moving things forward, but sometimes the red tape is a little challenging.
And 3 years is still a young outcropping, right? It's still
totally.
A young unit.
Totally.
To put this in perspective, here at the university, my colleagues and I, and for some time, we've been working on building this unit for some of us about a dozen years. And it just appears new, but no, it's been the hard slog to build and build and build to make it worthwhile to the market.
Yes.
And if you build it, they will come.
They will. I think the biggest thing, though, is within entrepreneurship and innovation, you've got to understand that the human race is risk adverse, right?
Yes.
And what we do is trying to sell something that we don't we believe will work, but we need to convince other people that it will work, whether that's backing it up with data, backing it up with storytelling, backing it up with research, whatever that may be. It's really important to understand that you have to go over that hump of fear. And whether that is
Yes.
bringing people along the way and being like, see, we're building this together, whether it's creating governance and saying like, we're not just doing crazy things out in La La Land. We're doing things that are serving the organization. There's a lot of things that you can do to help mitigate that fear in order to move the work that you're doing forward in a way that is welcomed by the gods that be, that make the decisions, versus seen as a threat to their existing business.
Thinking back on our conversation together, I remember an anecdote about a farm.
Yes.
Is this the example?
Yeah. So the joke we say back in the day, our old innovation team, they did a lot of really great things. They started what now is our team, but they got a little bit far away. And they literally
mission drift,
right? But I mean, like you could map a line, but it was like 16 lines to get to where they bought a farm. But they literally bought a farm. Target bought a farm, and then the exec team comes in and is like, "Why did we buy a farm?" And if you can't very quickly explain why you bought a farm, then you've got a problem, right?
What's the business case?
Right, exactly. And I right now could make up 3 business cases off the top of my head why we would buy a farm. But if you cannot defend that and it's not directly related to the goals of the organization, you shouldn't be doing it, right? And so I think what we are doing and what we are making sure to do as an organization right now within our team is saying everything that we're working on makes very clear sense why we're working on it, and we're not buying farms, right?
That's fair.
We want to make sure that people know we're not being crazy or lax with the resources we're given.
You have to live and learn. That was totally. A learn moment.
And I think all of the world, it's this contract, expand. Right? I mean, You look at Netflix and Amazon and Disney Plus and Discovery Plus and all, like we're in the expand world. I'm just waiting for the whole thing to implode and someone be like, guess what? I'm the Netflix of 2024. Like that's what Netflix was.
Yep.
Remember this? Remember back in the early days of Netflix?
Yes, I do.
What? Like literally all the streaming channels right now on my TV, I have more streaming channels than I do actual like channels.
Yep.
Like it's gonna contract. So one of you come up with the new Netflix of the world that combines all these things, and then we'll start the whole process over again.
And we'll innovate even within that.
Yes, totally.
There is a question from the audience.
Awesome.
Alec has asked, would you say that your education prepared you with the skills necessary to collaborate with team members in your occupation, or was that more learn as you go? That's a great question, actually.
Yeah, really, really great question. I would say it's definitely the latter, learn as you go. I think most people that are at the level that you're at from an education perspective have the ability to critically think and problem solve and collaborate in a team setting. I don't think that's a problem. I would say a lot of the work that I personally do, I'm getting better at through reps. So my boss said that at the very beginning, because I came to the strategy team not having any strategy experience technically, right? And I am one that I want to get really good at something, and I want to be, very competent. And she was like, you can't rush it. You have to have reps. And I truly do believe you just have to do it again and learn from it. And then you take those learnings and you add it to the next project that you're on, and then you mess up again, and you know that you learned that lesson, check that one off, you go to the next project. And with each rep, it's almost like you're molding this beautiful sculpture of your mind, but you need the reps in order to do that. And it's all a process of iteration. I don't think any education that you go through coming out, with your degree and your hat, you'll know how to be most effective in a team environment or collaborative conversation or situation. You learn trial by fire and you get better and better and better. But I also think that half of that is being very intentional and aware of what you're learning. If you don't take the time to meet with your leader, peers, friends, significant others, whoever, mentors, whoever those people are in your life that will tell you the real stuff, that like, ooh, you handled that very poorly. Like, I would not do that again. Like, what are other ways you could have handled that? It's like, ooh, I totally blew up in that situation. I could have said, 1 second, I'm going to go grab a drink of water, taken a lap and cooled down. And then I would have been able to come into the situation with my head a lot clearer, right? Or but if you don't sit down and talk about what you would have done differently or what you learned, you'll never be able to implement that going forward because you never even realized that you learned that. And I think that is one of the most beneficial things that I've really taken from my career and the leaders that I've been around, is the ability to reflect. Because if you don't reflect, you lose the reps, right? It's like you're looking at that very micro point on the sculpture, but you're not seeing that the entire sculpture is completely off because you're just making sure that this hand is perfect. You need to back up and say, okay, I really messed up on the shoulder, that I'm actually going to turn the shoulder into a hand, I think it's something that so many people, we live very busy lives.
Yes.
Lots of things are competing for our attention, and you've got to make the time to reflect, be intentional, and be honest with yourself. Like, I suck at X, and that's fine. Like, if you know you suck at X, that means you can work on X and get better at it. And then you'll just mildly suck at X.
So, I mean, but that's a scary thing to say, Colby. That's it's a very scary thing to say because, because admitting failure or showing that kind of vulnerability, it's sometimes perceived that you're going to meet up against judgment that may be external. So I want to make sure that I've heard this correctly, though. Mm-hmm. So the takeaway at this moment is reflection, communication, transparency, and intentionality. Do I have that right?
Yes. And I would add one more. I would say authenticity.
Oh, so unpack that for a second.
Yeah, because and I'm only speaking from my own experience. There's the tendency to want to put out a front that I know what I'm doing. I'm competent. I am smart. I can do this, and not ask for help, right? And not have any faults. We're just going through annual review time, and it's very easy for me to say, like, look at this list of amazing things. I'm a wonderful employee. Give me a great bonus, right? I can do that. Or I can say, here are the list of the things that I have done, and look at how much progress I've made in the past year and how much I've grown. And me, if I am looking at someone as a leader, I would much rather see someone that's growing over time, because that trajectory is getting higher and higher and higher every year, versus someone that's just awesome and they're stagnantly awesome. And I think in order to be able to do that, you have to have authenticity. And if you don't share who you are, both the good and the bad, then you're missing out on the whole person. And so the people around you that love you and care about you aren't able to help you because they don't even know that you need help in those areas. And I think that is definitely a lesson that I have learned from my mentor, Alexis Cantor, who's also a leader at Target. She is amazing. And she has always shown up with her full self, whether that was a good self or a bad self, or having a great day self, or holy crap, my day is sucking self. And the empathy that you have for someone when you jump on a Zoom call or you're in an actual room one day with someone again, maybe, and they walk in and it's like, oh, how's your day going? It's so easy to be like, oh, it's going great. How's yours? When someone's like, holy crap, like I spent the night in the emergency room with my kid who swallowed a nut and we thought like she was going to die, but I'm here and she's fine, but I'm running on an hour and a half of sleep. Like that's huge. And you don't have to share that, but the empathy that I have for you, being authentic with who you are in front of me, I'm going to have a totally different conversation with you than, oh, I'm fine. It's great. Like be authentic with who you are and what you're going through with the people, because the more you breed that authenticity and that transparency, the more people will share with you as well, and allows you to show up with the energy needed or the support needed for whatever that moment requires.
I love that. So just to repeat, it's been asked that for me to repeat the words. So and I'll add yours too, Colby. So I said reflection, communication, transparency, trust, intentionality, and authenticity.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah, that's 7 words.
I like threes, Aaron. Like,
you know what? I'm with you. So what if we were to cut all of that? I feel like honesty and no.
Yeah.
We've got one more question. How would you advise an entrepreneur to go from startup phase to meeting with someone in your position once their company is ready to go to market? The individual is considering your explanations of how you move from graduate school to being on that creative team.
Yeah. So I hear sort of 2 questions in that. The first one is bringing a startup to market. I would say Target has a program called Target. Well, they have 2 programs that I would say look into: Target Incubator and Target Takeoff. A lot of it comes down to, are you ready? Are you truly ready to go to scale? And we've seen programs or startups come through that program where they haven't thought through packaging. Like you need to, like, if you're sitting on a shelf, if you're a natural deodorant sitting on a shelf next to 25 other deodorants, and I'm being generous there, like whatever is showing to the consumer, how is that going to stand out from all the other things, right? Like there's a difference of selling at a farmer's market or to your friends or wherever that like startup we're testing and seeing if people like this. That's a great place to see if people like it, to competing. It's almost like going from, playing basketball in high school to playing in the NBA. Like you need to be able to compete. And yes. So you need to be able to stand out. So how are you going to actually stand out? Like go to, especially if it's a retail product, go to wherever the retailer is, take your product and put it on the shelf. And how does it look? Does it look like a entry beginner product? Does it look like a D2C product? Does it look just like Dove deodorant? If it does, that's not a good thing, right? Like you need to be able to do that. I'd also say the other place that, or the 2 other things that people very much stumble on are, can you scale your manufacturing?
That's critical.
If you want to go big, we're not talking thousands of units. Target has 1,800 stores, and let's just assume you give, you turn 1 item a week. That's 1,800 times 52, 54.
I was not a math major.
That's why I do Excel, right? That's a lot. So that's assuming that, and that's assuming very low turn, right? So you need to be able to do that. And if it blows up, how do you expand that? And what's your plan B and your plan C? The third thing, which I think is the one that catches people the most, is what is your plan after what you're bringing me? So if you're bringing me gadget A, what are you learning from your consumer to see what will gadget B be? What will gadget C be? Because very few companies, like you'll start with one thing, but what is the expanded product category and what type of company are you? Because if you are let's take Allbirds. If you are a woolen tennis shoe company and all you made was one woolen tennis shoe, that's very limiting. Allbirds is making all sorts of stuff. That's where they started, and that's great, and it worked for them. But then they started making slippers, and then they started making walking things, and then they started making clogs, and now they're making all sorts of different things. Like, what is the plan after this thing is successful, assuming it is? So like
Colby, that sounds like strategy.
I know, right?
I'm sorry, continue, because that's beautiful.
This thing with strategy is, it's strategy, which a lot of people don't realize, is that it is about what you don't do, not what you do, because the world is your oyster and you can do anything in the world. If you choose not to do something, you are specifically saying, this is the route I'm going to take. If you say, I'm going to travel all the roads and I'm going to go all the ways, you very easily lose what your company is and what the goal is. What is the problem you're trying to solve? That is always the question you start with. That is always the question you end with. Now you can tack on sub problems that you can then solve with other things. But if your company exists to solve this problem, don't add things to it. Say, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to solve this problem, and I'm not going to solve this problem, because if you can't solve every single problem in the world. So strategy is choosing what not to do.
Do you think too that the things that you're not going to do also open up for possibilities of collaboration?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
I would say I think it's more about understanding where your strength is.
Okay.
So we always talk about build, buy, partner, right? So like, do we build something from scratch? Are we the most suited or within a very specific situation in the best position to build something ourselves, which takes a lot of time, money, effort, resources, but sometimes you are, right? Are we going to buy someone, shipped? Hello, that's what we did. We're not going to build this from scratch. We're going to buy shipped, and overnight, well, not overnight, but like, in a short period of time, relatively short period of time, we now have the ability for you to get your products from Target in 2 hours. If you're going to partner with someone, that's saying we can literally, this is a turnkey solution, and we are going to do this with you and share the spoils of this thing. And I think it's totally fine to buy and partner, but you need to be very intentional with what you build.
I love that. You could say that all day long, and we should be.
You only have like a very limited set of resources, and like think about like, what do we stand for? What can we uniquely do? What is the niche that we are uniquely hitting that no one else can do? There's a book, Playing to Win, that is really, really great, that talks through a lot of different situations that large organizations have gone through, where they have chosen a strategy and they've decided, we're not going to go after this part of the market. We're not going to go after this consumer. We're not going to go after this. And that has led to their success because they nailed what the very specific route they chose to go.
Do you think that also having that laser focus on what you are going to do is also guided by values?
Yeah. And I totally, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, please.
Yes, I very much agree. Yes, I think it's guided by values. I think every company is different. Target's purpose is to help all families discover the joy of everyday life. And we tie that purpose to all the work that we do. And to be honest, I'm trying to tie it even more to the work that we do, because if we're true, like, you can say our values are teamwork, our values are efficiency, our values are collaboration, right? Those aren't values.
No, they're buzzwords.
No, they're buzzwords. Good Strategy, Bad Strategy is also a really good book that speaks about what strategy is and what strategy isn't, and how values play into that. Values are truly what guides you and tells you, is this something that we believe in, and that we should invest in? Does this align with who we are? Because that in itself will tell you what you should not be a part of. And if it does, it's similar, like from a personal perspective, similarly, how it's like, okay, if I value family, I am going to value a very different set of activities than I would if I value, I don't know, climbing the ladder. That's a bad example, but like a different value that's very different, right? Like
yes,
it guides where you go. And when posed with do I go down road A or road B, you think about, what are my values and what aligns most with that? And that helps tell you what to or what not to do.
Thank you for answering that. I can't believe that we're almost out of time. I think we are. My computer's not telling me what time it is anymore. We are 1 minute away, but I'm going to keep you for a little bit longer. If there are any questions in the audience that we haven't covered yet, please feel free to chime in at this moment. I've got a couple of questions I do want to ask you though. How do you face a tough day at the office?
Oh, I truly believe that your quality of life at work is dependent on your quality of relationships at work. And if those people, you're spending more time with the people you work with than the people you live with.
Truth.
And so you need to make some really good friends there. And that means not saying, oh, I had a great weekend. It means like sharing the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, the awesome, the I'm crazy excited, like I'm doing the crazy dance happy in my seat right now, right? And so if I'm having a bad day at work, I've got my one or two people where I'm like, hey, do you have a minute? and you need, like, I personally believe there's a benefit in venting. I'm a
Yes.
verbal processor. And so I need to talk through things, and I need people to say like, you were really stupid in this situation, or yeah, you should be mad. Like, that's really annoying. But I also believe in, after you get it out and after you pat each other on the back, high five, like it's okay, you move on, because this is the world you live in. It is what it is. You can't change it. So don't dwell on it. It's like, okay, the cards have reshuffled. This is a crappy deck that I got. What can I do with this deck? And you move on from that situation, because if you just beat yourself up about the bad conversation or the denial or whatever you got, then you're not ever actually going to be able to bring the good energy that you have within you to make the situation that you now have even better going forward.
Show up, speak your truth, let go of outcome.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of questions that came in. So one, what have your biggest struggles as a leader in business been as a female?
So everyone remembers the book Lean In, right?
Yes.
Lean In, all the book. There was
Yes.
a lot of hubbub about that. Very interesting. I was raised in a single mother household. I was an only child, and I was also, my grandmother lived with me. So all I knew was very strong women in my life, and I was raised to be a very strong woman. When I read the book Lean In, that I was probably in my mid-20s, and for the first time, I thought about things that I had never thought about. And I started thinking about things that I had never thought about as things that were bad. So like when I show up and I say the same exact thing that Bobby over here says, and I get weird looks, I had never recognized the weird looks and that I'm now deemed as bossy or too aggressive or whatever. I just did it. But now that I read this book, I became self-conscious. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, like I can't do that. I'm a woman. I need to show up differently. Like I'm treated differently. I'm looked at differently. And so I would say my biggest challenge was recovery from the book Lean In. And that sounds horrible. And it's a really great book, and it speaks truth of a lot of people, but it was almost bad that I saw what a lot of women see, and I would have never had to go through those demons myself because I didn't know that they were there. And so I would say, as a female, and specifically, I would say as a lesbian female, I have not. There are things that I show up with and I don't show up with. For example, I was not out at Target for the first 3 years I worked there, because I worked in a rural distribution center with a whole group of men that drove their pickup trucks into very rural areas, and I was not. I knew that I was probably not welcome, right? And so I had to wait until I felt comfortable to bring myself to work. So I think I definitely had to work through that.
But Colby, I think that speaks to I think that coming out at work is a very difficult thing. It's a very personal thing, and you have to trust. You have to trust that you're going to be safe, and that your truth is going to be respected, and not used as a cudgel.
Well, and what was amazing is I had way more concern about it than the people around me did. I waited until I changed jobs, and with my get to know you with my new leader, I mentioned that I, had a date with a girl
in passing,
right? And she was like, "Oh, that's so cool," and it wasn't a thing, right? And I had made it this thing that, oh, I can't say anything, these people won't agree. Like I had projected my feelings on all these people, and if I would have just said this is who I am, it wouldn't have been an issue. And I think that was the turning point of speaking to the authenticity earlier.
Yes,
bring my whole self to work, and if you like me, great. If you don't like me, great. We'll figure it out, and we're paid to work together. And if we're jerks to each other, then we'll both deal with the consequences of that. But I shouldn't have shied away from coming out. That was on me, and that was me projecting my feelings, what I thought other people would think, and I should have done it much earlier.
I respect that response so much, because it's honest, and I think we've all been there in some way. There is a question from Gabe. Building from your emphasis on relationships, do you feel like Target and other organizations that you know of have moved towards a more group emphasizing environment? And has this shown improvements on innovation and collaboration? If so, what is being done to facilitate this change, especially during COVID?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think in the early 2000s, it was all about collaboration, teamwork. And I think the downside of that is groupthink, right? So if you have a group of people where you only have one or two people that are very vocal, then everyone just agrees with those one or two people, and it's actually just one or two people making all the decisions. And so
it's really easier that way.
Right. Exactly. And all of you have been in school projects where you've been on a team and everyone sucked, and you had to lead the team and it sucked, right? And you did everything and it was really annoying. Hopefully, you've also all been on a team project where all of you equally contributed and it was amazing, and holy crap, you were like, yes, Tuesday night, I get to hang out with my project team because they're awesome and we're going to kick ass, right? If you can have that team, which I am so lucky, that's literally the team I work with. Every single person on my team I love. I enjoy hanging out with them as people. They're brilliant individuals. I get energy from them. Then I think, hell yeah, that is a wonderful, wonderful environment, and it breeds healthy discussion. But as soon as people start getting defensive and things become you can't disagree with each other without having a bad interaction, then people are going to start to shut down. And as soon as people start to shut down and pull away and be physically present or digitally present and not actually contributing to the conversation, whether or not you're an extrovert or an introvert, because there are multiple ways to contribute. You don't have to just talk. then that's where group work becomes a concern. And I have seen that happen. And I think it truly does depend on building that culture and that rapport with the team, built on trust, built on authenticity. And I'm much more likely to see if Aaron normally acts this way and he's really down today. I'm going to be like, hey, Aaron, like, what's going on? You okay today? Like, and he's actually going to tell me that his lottery ticket didn't win, you know, and he's just real sad about that.
I was really planning on it.
Right. Exactly. And that way I can show up for him how he needs me to. And he is okay if he steps back that day because he's mourning his loss of his lottery winnings.
My poor lotto. Yes.
But I like, it's the trust and the authenticity. If you do not show up to the table with who you are, others are not going to show up to the table with who they are. And it's all going to be this facade show. And you're not going to truly be able to have conversations that are dynamic enough to have you can't have agreement all the time. You need people to poke holes. You need people to say that's a bad idea. You need people to say like, well, how about we think about it this way? Or like, I really love that. Yes. And like, if you can't have the dynamicness of that, then you're not going to have a successful group result.
How do you, I mean, working on a team, have you found an efficient way to narrow down someone's strengths? Like, you have a team full of people. Some people, as you just pointed out, some people are not talkers. Some people are just, you know, they're introverted, but good golly, are they organizers? I mean, is there a fast way to run and find strengths within a group?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, there are tons of tools out there, right? From anywhere from Myers-Briggs to StrengthsFinder, and yes, those tools are great. And it's a good, quick shortcut, but often you don't have the resources in order to do those tests. I would say ultimately, like, I can sit down with someone, have a conversation and say, what are you good at? What are you energized by? What do you hate doing? And what do people call upon you for? And that basically is the grid of the gaps analysis. So if you're not familiar with it, there's a gaps analysis, and your strengths are things that you're really good at and things that you really enjoy. And if you just talk to someone, the things that you look at the time and you're like, oh my God, it's been 2 hours. I didn't even know it's been 2 hours. Those are the things that people are really good at, and they know what they are. And I think rather than thinking about like, what are people strong at, often I've found it's more effective to remove obstacles from people remove obstacles for things that people are bad at. So don't let people fail. So if I know, Aaron, that you are horrible at facilitation, I'm going to work with you on that so that that's not a thing that you're ever forced to do to a point that you are concerned about it, or it's no longer an obstacle. Like get your weaknesses to a point that it's no longer an obstacle. And so that way your strengths will shine, but nothing will trip you up to a point that it's embarrassing or hurts you or the team. So like remove those obstacles versus like play on people's strengths, because the strengths will naturally happen. They will come. Right. You don't have to force them. They naturally happen in the world.
So be able to find know people's strengths, but also be able to team play against each one person's weaknesses. Am I hearing that right?
Well, and be honest. I literally had a conversation with my team yesterday about like, let's be honest with what we're developing, like what our goals are for development. If I know that Aaron is working on facilitation or public speaking, I'm going to give him opportunities in order to work on that. If I don't know that that's what you're working on and you never raise your hand because you don't feel that you're qualified, you're never going to get any better at that, right? And so if you share with me someone that is not even, your leader, that this is what you're working on, I can now be your advocate and help you out. And you've got multiple people looking out for ways for you to get better at things. Whereas the things that you're strong at, people are going to be like, oh my God, Aaron is great at interviewing. Of course, we're going to have Aaron interview. Like, this is the thing he's great at. He's the first person we think of. So you're always going to get opportunities for things that you're strong at.
And then you can get into a resentment rut.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's like, well, I'm working on facilitation. Like, I really wish they would have picked me to do that. Like, the people, who are the voices in the room for you when you're not there? And you cannot be dependent on just your leader being the one voice, because there's a lot of rooms that your leader is not in.
Yep.
And so the more people that know who you are, what you're working on, where you want to go in your career, the more people have eyes and ears out for you and are in the room to say, oh, actually, we're doing this workshop next week. Who should we have to do it? Oh, I actually know Aaron. He's working on that. This would be a great chance. Let's pair him with Sally because she's really great at it and she can teach him. Wonderful. And your leader wasn't even in the room, but now you've been given a developmental opportunity with a mentor that you would have never been given, because you were transparent and you were vulnerable and you shared, like, this is something that I'm not very good at, that I want to be better at. And hopefully through those reps of learning and being iterative in your learning, you'll get to a point where facilitation is now something you feel really comfortable with. And if you probably won't want to be the star facilitator and everything, but it's no longer something that like gives you the chills.
Colby, you are a breath of fresh air, and it has been such a phenomenal conversation with you. I want to be able to honor all the time, and I'm sorry we didn't get to all the questions tonight, but Colby, thank you for coming and spending time with us today and dropping some wisdom.
You're welcome. Yeah, anytime. I am happy to help however I can. Anyone attending, feel free to reach out. I love hearing about what people are doing and being a thought partner in any way. So don't hesitate. I'm sure you have my contact information, Aaron.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, if people want to find you on social media, is there a particular handle you are engaged on?
Probably LinkedIn is the best one. I'm not really social media oriented. On Instagram, I saw you tagged me. I'm at So Quilt Explorer. My hobby is modern quilting, and so you won't see anything business related there. That is sort of my side gig. So technically you could reach out, but you probably won't realize that that's me because you would have no idea.
I love
it. Like a totally alternate universe.
We will find you. We'll actually, in the episode notes for this, we'll make sure that your LinkedIn profile is connected and that
Awesome.
people can get in touch with you. Everyone, thank you so much, Colby. Thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to our audience. We hope that you have had a great time. There will be a survey that will be sent out to attendees tonight. Everyone, have a great night. Go green.
The Hatchcast is sponsored in part by Spartan Innovations. Spartan Innovations provides startups spinning out of MSU's ecosystem the commercialization, support, and financial resources necessary to turn MSU research technologies into successful Michigan businesses.
Hatchcast is an ongoing
Hatchcast is an ongoing collaboration.
This podcast was co-created by Aaron Richard, Tyler Mihai,
And Kurt Krieger.
It is produced by the Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation in cooperation with the MSU
Foundation.
Gabe Hales
And Justice Keach are our sound engineers
and
and
editors. Our co-producers include Brandon Weaver, Gabe Hales.
Justice Keach and Aaron Richard.
Original sound is created by Kakia Gardina,
With help from Aubrey Haas,
Brandon Weaver,
Caitlin Setter,
Sydney Owinga, Kurt Krieger, Tyler Mihai,
Gabriella Alum,
Jeff Smith, Paul Jakes, Ken Smusiak, Desiree Melfi-Bozzo,
Neil Kane,
and Lori Fisher. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out at
Hatchcast@msu.edu.
hatchcast@msu.edu.
Hatchcast@msu.edu. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.